We're getting nostalgic today. We're pining for simpler times, simpler tech, and things that simply worked. Or is it that we're just younger, a little dumber, and now struggle to keep up with innovation or complex ideas that don't fit into a narrative that we created for the world? Nostalgia is tricky like that. That's why pop culture is littered with reboots, remakes, reimaginings, why fandoms cry foul over things that aren't my thing that I loved 10, 20, 30 years ago. But what about tech nostalgia? Are there innovations that simply aren't better than the originals? Is the quest for newer, faster, smaller, sleeker sometimes a bad thing? Today, Sarah Schlueter is joining us, a couple of old geezers, to discuss when tech made us feel cool and hip, old and outclassed, and whether nostalgia is killing innovation. I'm John Martin.
I'm Dean Reverman.
And I'm Sarah Schlueter.
Welcome to BlueStar Nation. The BlueStar Nation podcast is brought to you by the Elo Pay POS Systems. From fixed POS systems to self-pay kiosk, Elo offers a wide range of all-in-one payment solutions that simplify transactions and elevate customer experiences. Built to withstand the rigors of daily use, Elo's products are designed for durability, making them the perfect choice for any environment.
Yes.
Now, look, we know Elo is all about the modularity.
Yes.
And we love that.
Yes.
And the Elo Pay POS can meet any need that your retail and hospitality customers can imagine. 7, 10, or 22-inch screen options.
Nice.
Just options alone.
Full
that's
gamut
a good
right
thing.
there.
Yeah.
Yep.
Compact devices with built-in dip, tap, swipe payments. You know, I was suggesting
Loving
today we need to have a conversation with Nancy Lenise about figuring out some kind of a dance for that.
For the dip tap.
Maybe we can
swipe,
debut it at VarTech.
Maybe.
I don't know if she'll be on board with that.
Can we get James Davis to do a little Gen AI song so we can make up
think
our
we
own song on it?
Yeah. I think we could.
That
There
would
we
be
go.
sweet.
So dip, tap, swipe payments so you can dock it to a printer or a Z stand. 180-degree swivels to go from merchant to customer facing. There's also interactive terminal options, self-service kiosks. Again, plenty of different options for you. Contact the BlueStar Elo team to find out which Elo Pay POS system is right for your customer, and check out the link in the show notes for more details. All right, folks, I apologize for that kind of somber intro there.
Was it beautifully written?
Wasn't meant to be a downer or anything, but you know, I got nostalgic about nostalgia, I guess.
It's the gravity of the moment.
The gravity
right? Yes.
of the moment. So
we're talking tech nostalgia for crying
Sarah,
out.
this was an idea you brought to me, maybe?
Of course it's Sarah's idea.
I believe
I
it
love
was.
nostalgia.
This was what we were going to squeeze in last year and didn't end up having time for. And as always, when I'm trying to fill in a gap and need an episode, I was like, all right, let's bring in Sarah and talk about some random stuff. And she's always game for it. She's brought props once again.
Yep.
Always props.
So let's get into it here. Let's talk a little bit about the nostalgia of technology. So I wanted to start with kind of thinking back of like when tech does feel kind of exciting and new and unique. So is there a time in your life, or can you think of the first time that you felt like you actually were on the cutting edge of technology? You weren't just like adopting something that everyone else was already doing, but you were kind of the first in class to jump on board and experience some new tech.
First in class. Go ahead.
I guess so. I can start. Mine would probably be the dawn of the computer.
Which it actually
the
already.
dawn of
For
the
some reason,
computer.
I feel like there should be some 2001 Space Odyssey. Also, spake Zarathustra. Whatever.
I'm going to say we were definitely in the brunch, maybe late afternoon, not the dawn of computing by the time you rolled around.
True.
Nothing personal, but
the dawn of my home computer. I should say.
There we go. Because I'm like, dang, you are going way back.
Way back when.
Sarah's actually a time traveler.
Yes.
Or is like an immortal. She's
I only time travel for
10,000-year-old
nostalgia.
immortal. Yeah.
All right. So the dawn of your computing. Yes. Got
Dawn
it.
of
All right.
my computer. So
Yeah.
we were, at the time, my dad's business was work from home and my mom worked from home. So I feel like we were one of the first to get the AOL CD-ROM in the mail to get that dial-up going.
Yes.
So I just remember thinking that was really cool because I'd go to school and kids didn't have dial-up yet. So I kind of was like, oh, I'm the cool kid
Right.
because I have the CD-ROM for internet.
I was on GeoCities last night.
Exactly. So like that was a cool first, I guess.
About what year, may I ask? Not to date people, but
That's okay.
because I think it's contextually important.
probably 2001.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah,
Yep.
because
Definitely early days.
Yep.
Yeah.
and I had an older brother and sister, so they were doing it, and then I just was like behind them on the, oh, what did they play? And then
Right.
messing up high scores and all that stuff.
What was the Barbie game that you and Sam were raving
Barbie
about?
Horse Riding
There you
Club
go.
and then Barbie Pet Rescue, which I actually did go to my parents not long ago. Side note, to get Barbie Pet Rescue out, and it literally is like corrupted, and it can't even. You can
that's
hear the
unfortunate.
music when you load the CD-ROM, but nothing's happening.
happening there.
Yeah,
Okay.
I did try. I just wanted to see what would happen. But yeah, computer games, Spider Solitaire, Space Cadet, all of that.
Minesweeper.
Yeah. And I again, everybody else probably was starting to get that too, but I just felt like we had it first because I just remember going to school and people were like, what are you talking about? I don't know. So that was kind of where I actually felt like I was ahead of the curve in some way with new technology.
Okay.
That's pretty cool.
What about you, Dee?
That's a hard way to phrase it. I don't know. I feel like I have a couple of examples when I felt like
Maybe it's like to Sarah's
On
point,
the
when no one
cutting
around
edge.
you was doing it yet. You were like the first among people you know.
well, I don't know, but I'm gonna. Maybe I have an answer to that.
All right.
So I have. So I'm gonna play on the dial up because I did feel there is a moment in my life where I felt like, well, this is cool. This is where things are going. So I was researching. I was trying to transition employment. It was like 1998, and I was researching a company. So I had the old dial-up. I had the computer up in the office at the time. We had a house, blah, blah. And I researched the company I actually ended up working for, which was at the time Paradigm Communications Group. And so I went onto their website, and their website was so cool because it had graphics. It was like presenting multimedia of like where the world was going.
Right.
Unlike any other website, I mean, the web back then was like whatever. It was like going to the library.
Yeah.
It was just
like
text.
Pong
very
with,
very little graphics.
A couple of things you could click on. Yeah.
And when I researched, when I landed on their site, I'm like, well, these people are obviously charting a course to the future.
Right.
I want to be a part of that. So
It's a great pitch for working with someone,
Yeah. Oh, no. I was definitely into that. Then I thought to myself, well, when did I experience tech iterations? Because I think that, there's technology that comes out, and I'll make a case in the future here as we discuss about some of that. But,
Right.
But I experienced tech iteration, and we talked. Maybe I talked about this briefly when we had Sam on. I remember talking about, like, the four of us were talking about technology. But anyway,
Yes.
in television controllers. So I was of the age
wow.
where Odyssey came out.
Yep.
Atari, and it was all joystick oriented.
Yep.
And then a buddy of mine who was from a rich family, they had Intellivision. And Intellivision's game controller had this little disc. It's a little flywheel disc that's at the bottom of it. And I thought that was like the coolest thing because now you could do so much more with the game rather than just a little joystick.
Right.
So I very vividly remember like that iteration of technology.
And it was always the rich friend. Because
It was always
I
the
remember
rich
that too.
friend.
100%. I had that one friend whose family was clearly making a little more money than everybody else, and they had an Intellivision.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the rich people that had it. And it was like you had this little controller. I'm like, dang, I can't have this. Why can't I have this? I got my Odyssey back at home. It was like a piece of poop.
When you try to use the controller and you're like, yanking it around and nothing's really happening.
The other time in my life where I thought I was experiencing cutting edge was the first time like music CDs came out.
Okay.
That was...
Man, you're dating yourself there.
Oh, I know I am. But that was like...
But I remember too. Yeah.
Because everything was tape oriented.
Right.
And I got that. But then, again, and being a musician, I guess I was a little bit sensitive to it. But I can remember the first CD-ROMs that came out. It was like mind-blowing.
Yeah.
Still to this day is mind-blowing how that actually works.
Yeah.
You get into the technology. But that, I was like, I'm on the cutting. This is cutting edge
Do you remember
stuff.
what the first CD you bought
That's
was?
what I was gonna ask
I
too.
believe the first one I had, because Sting came out with an album that he specifically created in the digital world. Now I'm not going to remember the name. So it was a Sting album.
Right.
I can't remember which one it was.
Gotcha.
Could have been Fields of Gold or something like that. No. Was it Dream of the Turtle? What do you know? Are you a Sting fan?
Fields of Gold sounds right because
Yes,
I
it was
remember
around that
being
era.
mid-late 90s.
and he recorded the whole thing digitally and then released it, on a CD-ROM, and it was like, whoa, that's this is different.
It was a big album for him, if I recall.
Yeah. So there you go. What makes you? What did you experience?
I
the
got
cutting edge of tech.
There are actually 3.
Oh, you got 3
places,
too,
and it's all related to. We all know I'm a big movie and TV buff, and
yes.
So back in the late 80s, maybe around 87 or so, I was living in Colorado with my parents. We decided to move out to Colorado into the mountains in the middle of nowhere for some reason. And they decided to buy a VCR. Now, granted, VCRs had already been out for a little while, but I don't think there was quite that much like mass, in-house, yet necessarily. And I think it was still at a time when they were kind of pricey to buy, so they bought a VCR. I don't think that was the necessarily innovative part necessarily yet, but at the same time, they also decided to start buying videos. Now, in 87, buying videos was not really a thing. You had to pretty much rent them.
Yes.
That was about it.
Yes.
So, but the thing is, again, we were living in the mountains. The closest city was like a 25, 30-minute drive away.
You were really in the mountains.
Yeah, we had to climb down out of the mountains and then drive down the little highway for like half an hour.
Just to hit a Blockbuster.
To get, and we're not even talking Blockbuster.
Yeah.
We're talking like this
Prime Video or
little
something.
town called Woodland Park that had just one random little video rental store.
Yep.
And they would go there and they would order and buy videos, but they would be basically paying the rental, like a rental store's price, which they would pay like a few $100s per video because they're making the money back renting it, obviously.
Yes, right, yeah.
So my parents are doing this, and mind you, they're not getting good stuff. Like, I remember one of the first movies they bought was some like Jessica Lange movie from like the 1980s called Pure Country. I guarantee you no one's probably even heard of this or knows this.
Nope.
It's stuck in my head just because it was the first movie I got to watch.
So you're saying they bought this title?
Yes. So they were buying this, and then they bought like a lot of like what was like straight to Disney Channel movies that were being stuffed onto video, like Across the Great Divide and Mountain Family Robinson. Again,
so nothing.
I promise you, most people listening are like, I've never heard any of this stuff. No, but my parents found it, and they spent hundreds of dollars to buy a video cassette to watch some of this stuff.
One movie was hundreds of dollars?
Yeah, because again, they were paying the video store price. They weren't.
Yeah, I understand.
It wasn't a retail sale.
So how many times did you
point.
watch these movies in your life?
Quite a few.
Yes.
I mean, clearly, like
Yes.
I mean, I still remember the titles. And
Yes.
we were. It was funny. We were actually over my in-laws' house, and they have one of those cool little plug-in devices, like, those kind of hack devices that pretty much let you access any kind of television or movie you could possibly want. And they were flipping through stuff and found that like Mountain Family Robinson movie or something like that, and put it on. And suddenly I'm just like, I'm falling back to when I was about Miles's age, watching this movie that I hadn't seen in probably 30 years or more.
Oh.
So that was
your parents were actually on the cusp of some technology.
They really were.
Meaning, no, hold on. They should have been duplicating them. Because back then, they didn't really have scrambled technology. All you had was the big FBI warning that came on.
That was back in the day where, you remember what old cassettes back in the day, like if you wanted to record stuff, but if you didn't want to record it over, there was
you
a little
knocked
tab.
out the notch. Yeah.
You just break
That's
it
right.
down.
Yeah.
And then if you wanted to record it, you just put a tape over it and you were fine.
Yeah.
I don't think at that time they even had the tabs on them at that point. So. Yeah, so there was that. And
so
then,
wait a minute, just for clarity, you felt like VHS was like
again,
cutting
at
edge.
the time I thought it was cool because I didn't know anybody else that had videotapes in their house, or buying videotapes.
That's fair.
But also, I was living in the mountains and didn't know many people anyway, so,
What was like the rental window of having that? How long could you have the VHS tape?
I mean, like I said, we were buying them flat out, so we owned them.
Straight up buying.
But we were but we were paying a rental price, like the price that the rental
shop was
store
buying
themselves, which they would recoup then by renting it. But we're like, here's a few $100 for a movie that will.
Yeah, you should have pirated that stuff.
That someone else could rent for like $5 a night, or $5 for a week or something, I don't know. I wouldn't say it was the smartest idea. Okay, then fast forward to the late 90s, and I'm working in a bookstore, and there's a guy I work with who's a huge cinephile. I mean, do you think I'm into a lot of movies? This guy had seen everything. He would see everything as it would come out. He would be the guy going to like the Esquire in Cincinnati and the Marymount, the old, local, small theaters that were that played, small
reruns
market stuff,
and small market stuff,
and he suggested I get a DVD player. Like this was probably like 98 or so. They were out, but not super popular yet. So I'm like, fine, I got a DVD player. He started loading me all these weird, bizarre, off kilter movies I'd never seen, which probably shaped my interest in movies and why I like such really off weird kind of movies. And then the single best suggestion they ever made to me, which again was right about the same time, was, hey, there's this company you should check out. It's called Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
Not a thing that really, like their library at the time was maybe like 3,000-4,000 movies, period.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, okay, sure, I'll sign up for this thing, and start getting the discs in the mail.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that was just the greatest, coolest thing ever. And I became total like evangelist to everybody. Like, you got to do Netflix.
You got to do Netflix.
Stayed on board with it all the way until, not to the bitter end, but like, until the streaming became.
So you don't have Netflix today?
I do not. Well, remember, they finally cut I've got Netflix streaming, obviously, but they finally stopped the DVD service 3 or 4 years ago, I think. So, and shipped their last ones there. So it was all movie related stuff where I felt like I was kind of on the cutting edge a little bit.
That's pretty cool.
I'll give it to you. Yeah. That VHS thing was pretty cutting edge back in the day.
All right, I get it. Not cutting edge, but again, in the late 80s, it was cool.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
I think
Did you ever go like Blu-ray?
Yes, I did. Yes, I
so
did.
You
do
kept
Blu-ray.
with the iterations.
Yeah, I didn't do the HD DVD, and I didn't go. Wasn't there something after Blu-ray briefly?
Gold or something.
I don't remember what it was. Like, I didn't mess with that, but I did Blu-ray for a little because basically
When
I had a
PlayStation
PlayStation 3.
Stuff? Did you have VHS?
Yes, I had VHS. We still had my parents have a massive collection of VHS tapes.
Wow.
And they still have a VHS player downstairs in the basement.
Even better.
Also with our 70-inch box
Does it work?
TV. Yes, it works. Still gets DirecTV or whatever they have.
Make sure that stuff's in the will for you because
I already told them. My brother and sister get nothing. I take your music collection, your records, your record player. I get everything.
They can have
Sorry.
the money.
You guys can have the house, but just give me all of the stuff that's in it.
Well, there's a good chance that's going to be worth more than the house.
True.
Yeah, really. To
True.
cash it in. So,
but I remember
you got a 70-inch old school TV,
like the box, it's got to be
huge
from front to back, like this right here.
That's
it's massive.
130 pounds or something. Yeah.
I remember my parents brought that home. Well, maybe that's what I should have put as my answer because I was like, we are so cool.
Right.
We've got this. I don't know where it came. It had the big speaker on the bottom. And obviously, if you watch stuff on it now, it's super grainy. It's not great.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But back in the day, watching a movie as a family on a Friday night, it was like being in a movie theater because that thing was massive. And none of my friends had that. So they'd be like, oh, can we watch a movie on your TV? And that honestly, I changed my answer, and that is where I felt like I was cutting edge.
That's how you knew you were cool, though, is if the friends were wanting to come over and check out the thing that you had because
that's right.
Them had
Oh
it.
yeah,
that's how you.
Yeah, for sure,
definitely.
For sure.
Good times. All right, I want to kind of combine the next two questions together because I feel like it's all part of the same conversation, which is there technology? This is the reason we kind of did this episode. Tech that you feel nostalgic about and wish still existed, or maybe even potentially still using, even though it's long past novelty, or to that point also, we can kind of split these up, but I think they all kind of go together. What about tech that hasn't necessarily improved with newer innovations? So is there technology that you're nostalgic about and stuff that maybe you think, you know what, the modern version isn't actually as good or cool as the old version was? Dean, why don't you kick us off this time?
Okay, so is there technology you feel nostalgic about? Unfortunately, you already poked fun at it, but I'm going to go radio. Because, and more specifically, AM radio.
Okay.
Nobody listens to radio anymore.
Right.
And
we were talking on the podcast a while back, they're even considering removing it from vehicles. Manufacturers are wanting to take it out.
Right. So, and my kids, age shamed me. What's the right word? Dad, nobody listens to radio anymore, which is absolutely fair. But here's my argument for why I'm nostalgic about it, and specifically, again, AM radio, because AM radio, when you got in your car, still to this day, by the way, they still do this, but you got your news. You got your news at the top of the hour. Traffic, weather, and basically it was a podcast, right? Whoever the guy or girl is on, mostly guys, on AM, on radio, you're basically listening to a podcast because they would have guests on and stuff like that. So you got everything you got today, but it was just in one news or one radio station itself, right? And so anyway, there. I'm a little nostalgic for AM radio.
So maybe we should do a version of this show where it's we're still in AM. I'm John, this is Dean, we're on WBSTR.
That's right. That's right. So I challenged my kids, and maybe you can answer. I'm like, well, so how do you get your new music? How do you because that was the way that we. Well,
the music was on the
you're a
FM
little
side
bit of.
typically
Well, I
anyway,
understand, but I mean, right, radio in general,
Right.
and they're like, well, no, it just pops up in my stream on Apple or on Spotify. It just it suggests things. Hey, you listen to this, so you might like this.
Or if you're like me, every Friday you go to the news section and scroll through.
You scroll through and listen.
And listen.
Or
to
I
stuff
get
that sounds
pop-ups on my Spotify. It's like, so-and-so just released a new single. Or I'm like, sure, I'll check it out.
So like listening to the top 10 countdown or 20. Do you remember that back in the day on radio?
Okay,
that's when you got exposed to like new music.
Every year, the Casey Kasem top 100 of the year. I would record that on like 6 cassettes because it would take hours.
Yes.
It was over I think 3 Sundays or something like that.
There's John. Play record. Play record.
and then when I would have my school summer field trip for all the nerdy kids, and we'd go off to another state or something like that or whatever, I would take those with me. We'd play them in the car and they're on the bus or whatever while we're on those trips.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm nostalgic about it. It still exists. So I didn't get the second part of your question.
But to your
there,
point,
but,
it's pretty.
Nobody listens to it anymore.
It's incredibly outdated at this point.
Yes.
Well, and radio used to be how new artists would get introduced. And it's crazy how nowadays there's so many bands and artists that they either got famous from TikTok or Spotify or whatever. They're not radio is non-existent. There's a couple really big bands that I listen to that have never touched the radio once. And they've even joked about it too. We're not for radio.
Right.
Yeah. Well, and let's be honest, radio is notoriously unfriendly to people that didn't have massive
for sure
contracts with huge labels or whatever.
Absolutely.
It was impossible to break in if you weren't tied to a giant label.
Yeah, totally different world today.
So Dean, you do know they have news podcasts.
Yes, I know. Right? Yes, I'm aware of all that. I was just saying nostalgically.
All right, I get it.
But now, I wake up in the morning and I checked 4 different apps to get everything that I could have gotten in the top 5 minutes on your AM radio station.
Meanwhile,
traffic, weather.
When I get in my car, if for some reason because I'm always
my car doesn't have AM anymore. Well, go ahead.
Because I've got CarPlay, obviously, and I always hook up my phone in my car.
Yeah.
If for some reason, every once in a while, it'll disconnect from CarPlay and it will randomly just switch to the radio. Yeah. It's always, for one thing, 50 times louder than what my phone was broadcasting for some reason.
Yes.
It would just be blaring and just loud and obnoxious, and it just makes me angry.
Now, do you want me to go into the second question?
Yeah, tell us a little bit about
what about tech that hasn't necessarily improved with new innovations?
I was going to say radio again.
Here's my bomb, my mic drop, whatever.
Okay.
Gaming.
Oh, I might fight you on that.
Gaming. So the only thing that really, think about it, I thought about it a little bit. This is the way I was thinking. The only thing that's really changed in gaming are graphics.
Well, yes.
Audio.
Yeah.
And maybe
controls are an awful lot more complicated.
Concurrent multiplayer.
Yes.
And here's my thesis.
Which I will say is more of a bug, not a feature.
So from an iteration standpoint, again, the aforementioned in television that I was talking about, is it wildly different than the gaming today? Here's my point. If you dropped a gamer from 1990 into today, 35 years later, do you think a gamer from 1990 could play today's games?
It would take a while. It'd be a learning curve, a steep learning curve.
Oh, I don't agree with that word, steep. I mean, there might be a little learning curve.
You don't think so?
Marcus shaking his head no.
I mean, you had Zelda back then. You had games. It's not like you're
I'm not saying the game itself.
Now hold on.
Controls.
As opposed to you take somebody from 1955 and you drop them 35 years later in 1980.
Okay, yes.
There's no way somebody from 1955 even understands the concept of gaming.
That's true.
So my point is, gaming really hasn't changed a whole lot. Yeah, okay, graphics. Yeah, okay, it sounds better. The graphics are unbelievable.
Right.
Yeah, I can real-time play, meet people, whatever. But has it really changed?
It's funny because I feel like I have experienced this in just the last 7-8 years because when I decided to get my son into gaming, we started with I had the NES Classic and the Super NES Classic, the little mini versions they put out that I got 30 games on them.
Yep.
So we started with that. So I've recently replayed some of the old classic stuff, the simplistic controllers. To your point, the graphics aren't all there, but they're still fun games. And then we graduated into the PlayStation 3, which was the newest thing I had at the time. And I just got a PS5 for Christmas. One thing I will agree with you on, though, is I think the finding quality fun games to play is not as easy now as it used to be. Like I think it used to be, and maybe this is just my tastes are a little more discerning.
Are there
maybe.
too many games now? Is that it?
There is that, and there's also like so many indie games. It's hard to like know about them or even find them. But like if you're looking like thinking like AAA titles, the big stuff. I remember being able to go back in the day and go to a video store and rent games.
Yes.
And it was one of those things where like I could just pick up any game and take it home and probably had a good time with it or found a cool game.
Yep.
Now I feel like there's only like when I was going through the PlayStation store and picking like here's the stuff that I want to favorite and get to playing at some point. I found maybe 10 games that I was like really excited about. And then a bunch of stuff that I've just never heard of. And maybe part of it's because I just haven't been in the gaming world that much for a while. Yeah. But there's just a lot of stuff that I feel like I just didn't know anything about and wasn't that interested in. And I don't know.
I'm just saying that, when you think about newer innovations, it's like, now you were originally very combative. That's not the right word to use, but you were like, no, somebody today, the games are completely different today. But I still think I could take that Intellivision controller from the 80s and play a mod. Well, I don't know. I don't know the modern title, but I could still probably fumble my way through it.
Maybe.
Anyway.
I don't know. I just feel like it. Right. But that upgrade in the graphics and the sound is a pretty massive.
Oh, it's huge. Yeah. Okay. But now there's nostalgia for the 8-bit and the 16-bit.
I would like the BlueStar Nation out there to weigh in on this and send us their thoughts on this.
Well, I thought it'd be a little bit controversial.
As folks in the tech world, there's a lot of probably gamers out there.
Oh, for sure.
I'd like to hear your opinion about how you think the quality of games
has it improved. That's the question.
Or not? Yeah.
I mean, beyond I'm conceding graphics, audio, multiplayer. Okay, I'm conceding those points. But other than that, has it really improved that much?
Because I was thinking at first.
Here's where I'm sorry to step all over you there. Fine. But if you take the same 35 year, I'm thinking we should be Neuralink by now. Like I don't even need a controller. Like I should be gaming in my mind and doing. I don't know.
There's a Black Mirror episode.
But then it's going to turn into like WALL-E. Remember the movie WALL-E when all the people are in chairs and everything's happening in their brain and they just get super duper fat?
Right.
So see, that's probably what would happen.
Well, we refer to that movie often.
Yes, we do.
True.
Yes, we do.
There's a lot of truth to it.
Yeah, there is.
Sarah?
All right, Sarah, what do you got? What are you nostalgic about, and what do you think is just not as good as it used to be?
Well, first, I do have props. So
notes even too. This is awesome.
I know.
It's all over
paper
the place.
Notes.
But because, again, I'm that nostalgic. Everything goes on paper.
The eldest of elder millennials.
The cassette tape aux plug-in.
Yes. I love this.
Rolled my life.
If you don't normally watch us on YouTube, you should check it out because we actually have living props of these things.
I loved this thing. It was super easy. You literally plug it in like a cassette, plug it into your phone, do whatever you need on your phone. It plays through. You can call your mom on it and you can hear her through the speakers, all of that. I like this because it's easy connectivity. So then one of the strifes I have about like Bluetooth in cars, one, always connects to iTunes. I don't want my old iTunes songs that I bought, that U2 song that got downloaded on everybody's phone, playing through the speakers. It does that every once in a while. Or it just will disconnect from Bluetooth. Or I can be parked and it's like, don't do this while you're driving. I'm not.
Oh, God.
And so that just makes me mad. And that's a Bluetooth connection. So I feel like if we want to get into it, that hasn't necessarily improved. Bluetooth connections in cars are not. I know that now there's CarPlay, there's other stuff.
But CarPlay still requires a cord.
Oh, it does?
I have to physically connect to my, I have a cord that's always attached to my car and I have to connect to my phone.
See.
But that's your car. Like, are you talking like Apple Play or?
Yeah, Apple CarPlay.
You have to have a cord.
I think they're finally starting to get some that are Bluetooth enabled too. But for the longest time, most of Apple CarPlay, if you wanted the CarPlay experience or Android Auto, you had to actually connect with a cord.
So why not just go back to this? Makes more sense. So there's one. And then,
but to your point, yes, the Bluetooth experience is miserable.
Yes.
Can I? This is awesome that this prop even still exists. I wanted
don't
to
get
see
rid of anything.
who makes this. Is a legit cassette.
Is it
this
Scotia?
Is awesome.
I forget how you say that
This
name.
is awesome. Whatever. Oh,
but see, and cars just don't have cassette players.
Well, they don't
all
have
my
cassette
cars
players,
did. Yeah, but
that's
and
like
they never made a CD version.
Old.
Like you can't stick a CD with a cord sticking out of it.
Was your first car from the 90s?
So first car was a 2001 Saturn View.
So close.
Very close.
And it had a cassette player.
It had a cassette player. I used that, and then I drove my mom's red 1994 Toyota Tercel for a while.
That had
best car. You could run on 3 weeks of gas.
Oh,
you never
for
had to.
Yeah.
Even if it was on E, you could run for like two more more days. You're fine.
Let's be honest. If you had a Saturn now, it probably still would have a cassette player in it.
Yes. Part of me kind of
Saturn still was a thing.
I want to go back. But that was so funny side story. The first question I asked when I bought my own official car as an adult was, does it have a CD player? I knew it didn't have cassette. And I should have known the problem existed when the little car salesman was like, oh, I'm not sure. But I thought I saw the CD slot. I'm like, I'm not buying this car from him. He doesn't even know if it has a CD player in it. So moving on.
Wow. He lost a sale just like that.
Lost a sale.
You got to know your product. You got to know your product.
You got to know your demographic
That's
too.
right. Yeah,
and then the iPod Classic. So this is 160 gigabyte. I just kind of miss, and I guess to the second part of the question that not maybe necessarily hasn't improved, but I just miss when you had a music playing device and there's nothing else on it.
Yeah.
Just music.
Right.
Yeah, I got you.
Like, that's what I would like to go back to is just
no one's texting you on it.
I don't
There's
want
no videos
interruptions.
to watch.
I don't want my mom to call in the middle of it. Like none of that.
Yeah.
So, and this is look at this. This could work together.
They could work together. Boom.
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 Playing and then two other quick things as far as tech that I feel like has not necessarily improved would be the sound, what you kind of alluded to earlier, the sound on a cell phone constantly changing. You plug it into something, it's too low, and then you plug into your car and it's like blaring through the speakers. Or even if you're on speaker with someone and they're also on speaker, there's distant. Why do we not have crystal clear sound in our phones? Like I just don't understand. And then FaceTime is sometimes more clear than you're talking on the phone. And then my last, two things, GPS. Even with the different apps and
where are you
stuff.
going with this? Yeah.
Okay. This is my problem with it.
Oh, you got problems with GPS?
I do have problems with all
surprised
GPS.
she doesn't have like a Garmin she's sitting on the table now.
Well, one, sometimes they don't give you the shortest route. And then you take the shorter route and you save 6 minutes. Right. Why did I have to make that decision myself? You were supposed to tell me that.
Oh, so you got an issue with the AI in some of these GPS programs. Got it. Okay. It's not
AI.
the GPS technology.
Right.
Okay.
But there are times too when if you turn down a street, it takes it like 5 seconds to, and you're like, I don't know which way to turn. I don't know which way to turn. And you just, and they're like, like rerouting or make a legal U-turn, whatever they say nowadays.
What is your navigation app of choice? Like if you have to use one, what do you typically use?
I use Waze just because I want to know like, there's, you're going to be in traffic for 9 minutes, and it
there's
gives
a cop over there.
Yes, that one's always good to have.
The user added part.
Yes,
I think is
the social aspect.
Which isn't Apple or Google Maps adding or
I think they've started doing that if they haven't already.
See, I haven't. I mean, by this point, I'm so stuck in Waze that I don't care. Like, switch.
But Waze is sometimes I'm like, let me take this side street. Oh, I saved 3 minutes. Why didn't you tell me I was about to save 3 minutes?
I share your frustration there. I mean, it's like now I open 2, maybe even 3, because my car has an app. So I'm checking like 3 different sources to verify, is this actually the best way to go?
Right.
Yeah, because
by the time you do that, you've already killed 5 minutes that you could have been on
it's
the
worth
go.
it.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm down to like 30 seconds. I think I'm burning 30 seconds for that. But to Sarah's point, if I'm saving 6 minutes, it's worth the investment. That's where I'm at. So I'm with you there.
I'll jump off my high horse now. But those are
I'm on board with you on this. Back to the volume thing. I noticed this most particular for me, which is, again, super frustrating. Again, I use CarPlay. I usually listen to podcasts when I'm driving by myself. But like if, I'm with the family or the kiddos in the car or whatever, I switch over to music, because sometimes the podcast is questionable content, for the kiddos. Or they're just like, I don't want to listen to fantasy baseball crap for 3 hours.
Right. That's right, yeah.
So I'll switch over to music. But when I switch to music, it is like infinitely louder. Like I have to like turn up the volume for the podcast. But then that volume is 2 to 3 times too loud for music. So I always have to cognizantly remember, if I'm switching to music, I got to turn it down first before I switch it, or it's like blowing out my speakers.
Yeah.
And there's no point to that. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. Can it all just translate? I don't feel like it's...
But the thing is, though, it even does it like with my earbuds, too. Like if I'm listening to my earbuds and I swap from one to the other, it's like super loud if I switch over to the music. Or if I'm listening to music and I switch to the podcast, I'm like, why can't I hear anything? Like, because I got to turn it up now.
Yeah.
Right. We need a solution for that.
That should be intuitive.
That just seems like an easy problem to fix, but...
That's right. Yeah.
Get on it, Apple. Or
Come
whoever.
on.
Yeah.
And I'm with you on the device. If I could go all the way back to your beginning thing here, because we have an old phone at home that is the music phone. That we use because I've got a stereo, a system set up. So our kitchen and then our outside porch plays the same music. And because that's where most people are almost all the time. So we have the music phone. But the music phone keeps getting updates, and then it gets a little slower. And now it's like, so this thing, you're saying this thing works still?
It works, but because it's so old, it has to be
charged
on the docking station. As soon as you take it off the docking station, it's like the battery life just...
So basically the battery in it is probably dead, but the dock can charge it.
The dock is keeping it. It's like life support for this thing.
But I'm with you. I mean, just a nice, simple music player. I think Apple would do a world of good if they relaunched that.
They could
I think they'd sell quite a few of them.
Probably, yeah.
Because to your point, I mean, because then if I get a call or something, I've detached it from my Apple world, so it still works. But it is annoying, if you use your phone as the music phone that everybody's listening to, and then you're getting alerts. Bloop, bling, bloop. It's like,
that's why I turn off all the alerts.
Yeah.
Like I just I at some point like 4 or 5 years ago, I just went all mute on my phone.
Did you?
So like my phone makes no sound when it rings. Like you
just
can feel
haptics
like
on
it'll
your
be
wrist
vibration and my wrist haptics or whatever. But like nothing. I don't want my phone making sounds anymore.
Fair enough.
I just don't need it. So
So where are you on these things? What are you nostalgic about, my friend?
Let's talk about nostalgia first. And I'm kind of getting down Sarah's route here. As I told you beforehand, I feel like you and I were on a little bit of the same wavelength here. So let's talk about music, and let's talk about making music mixes. Because I'm old enough that obviously I once upon a time made mixes on tape. As I mentioned, I was taping Casey's Top 40.
Do you still have some of those, by the way?
I don't think I do. I still have all my old mixed CDs, probably.
Okay,
but
the tapes are gone.
The tapes are probably long gone.
Okay, continue. Yes,
because I mean, again, wouldn't have nothing to play them on.
That would be gold right now.
It would, yes. So it started off making mixed tapes, which like I'm not saying I loved that because that is a process. Like
that's a labor of love.
I mean, even if you got one of those cool, eventually I had one of those like double, the double cassette, deck thing where like
would it do 2x speed?
Yeah, but where you could just put like one cassette in one side and the other cassette's your recording cassette and you play your song, record it, blah, 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 that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
So I had that for a while, but even that, again, laborious,
Very.
And then, of course, if you're recording off the radio, you've always got to make sure you hit it at the right time. You got the DJ babbling at the beginning and at the end, and that pisses you off. Like, no, I want to hear that guitar solo. Or they're cutting it off like 20 seconds before the end, So that's the stuff that drove me nuts. So there was that. Then the CDs. And to me, the CD has and always will be the pinnacle for making mixes.
Oh. Yes.
This is when I hit my stride. So once the CD became available and CD burners.
The burner. Okay, yes. Yeah, okay.
My first burned CD was a playlist. I've still got a copy of this somewhere. It was called the Martian War Songs. My old nickname used to be The Martian for anybody.
Got it.
If I haven't shared that or told you that yet.
Now we're calling you that.
Thanks.
John Martian.
It came from like since high school because an art teacher called me that once. He used to like change.
The Martian.
He changed everybody's
The Martian.
names. All right. Anyway, so I called it the Martian War Songs. It was all of like the hard rock, heavy songs that I was digging at the time. This was 2001, I believe, that I made this mix. Gave it out to all my friends. A buddy of mine even like made up some artwork for the jewel case, and gave it out. And nothing super exciting, but,
but
had like
still,
the track list on it or whatever.
That's cool.
At that point, I became obsessed with making mix CDs. So for time in memoriam, I have been making a yearly playlist of my favorite songs. You're both aware of this. I've been sending this to you guys.
Yes.
But it started off as a CD. And I still prefer that because every year I would make that CD. And there's something about physically handing that to someone.
Yeah.
Or putting it in a Christmas card. I would put them in Christmas cards and send them to people that I wasn't, didn't get to see.
Yeah.
But there was something about that because it's a tangible type of gift that when you give someone, I always felt they were more likely to actually use it and do it and listen to it.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like I love the playlist thing. It's super convenient. It doesn't suck up hours of my time like burning CDs.
Yeah, right.
It's so easy for me to like love this song, put it on a playlist, and then at the end of the year, hey Sarah, here's my playlist for this year. Hey Dean, here's my playlist for this year. The problem with that is like back in the day when it was the CDs, I would like be hanging out with friends and when I'd be like, oh hey dude, look, I got your CD. Stick it in the car, put it in the CD player at the house, and we're listening to the music. I'm like, rock on. Like, it's nice to know you guys are still enjoying it. There's still people sometimes who will tell me, like, hey, I found some of your mixes from like 2004.
Nice. Yeah, right. Yeah.
I don't get that anymore. Like, no one's playing the mix in their car for me, or Plus, we all build so many playlists for ourselves.
Yeah,
and
right.
it just gets lost.
Yeah.
In the black screen shuffle.
Yeah.
And I feel like, and like this has happened with my wife before. Like I'll send her a mix and I'll be like, "Hey, what did you think of that mix?" And she's like, "Oh,
I haven't
crap,
gotten around to it."
I forgot about it. Like
Yeah.
you texted it to me and I literally never added it to my
lost.
phone. I haven't even listened to it yet. I'm like, "Thanks, dear." But I get it because it's happened to me. I've done it too. People have sent me stuff and I'll be like, "Crap, here's this mix you sent me. I downloaded it." And I didn't listen to it, and that was 8 months ago.
Yeah,
and I think we've lost that kind of the urgency or like the aspect
the physicality of it.
Yeah, the aspect of like you're sitting in your car and you're like, man, listen to some music. Oh, cool. John just gave me this CD. I'm gonna stick this in and take a listen to it.
Yeah, right.
Versus maybe you just plug your phone in or Bluetooth starts and it just starts playing where you left off and whatever.
Yeah.
I miss that.
That's true. My friend who moved to San Diego, I did that for her. Her going away gift was like 7 mixed CDs of just songs that we'd all listened to growing up together. And then I made it like an alliteration. I was like, Jen's Joyride Jams. And so even like since the last time I've seen, like she still has those CDs and she's like, oh my gosh, I listened to this one the other day. It was so fun.
Yep.
Like,
nice.
So that tangible gift, it is just totally not the same.
The other part too is there's a time constraint when you make a mix CD.
There is.
Like I think like if you did it at like the highest quality, I think you could get 72 minutes something like that.
Around there, yeah.
Was like the max. That forced you to be very economical with your choices.
Yep.
And like now, again, when I make my year-end mix, sometimes I'm like, God, this is 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, I don't know what to cut because I love all this stuff. And it can be 2.5 hours long because no one's telling me it can't be.
Yeah.
Which probably, again, is another reason. It's probably another reason people aren't listening to it. They're probably like, listen to 2.5 hours of
holy shit,
John's crap music, whatever, for maybe one song that I like. But when it was a CD, you had to be very deliberate. And like I would have to make cuts. I'd be like, nope, I can't fit this one on here. I've got to take that off, replace it with something else. I got to do this. Plus, I was also back in the day a fan of making mixes for the ladies.
Yes.
Like 'cause, that was my love language sometimes. Like hey, I like you.
Your calling card.
Here's a CD of all of music that reminds me of you. Wink, wink. And you can be very deliberate about that too. And like pick a perfect mix or like here's that song we listened to and we took that car ride together. Stuff like that. I feel like all that's lost. It's just not there anymore.
Yeah, fair.
I'm nostalgic for the mixed CD, basically.
John, bring back the CD player. That's what you're saying.
Bring it back. I still own a CD player.
You do?
You can bet you that thing will. I don't think I have one anymore. If my house catches fire, that's coming with me.
Oh yeah.
So,
I've got one. Well, I've got one in my car. I think that's the only place I've got one. I still have boatloads of CDs. That is the one that the tapes are gone. I've still got those giant wallets.
Yes.
Where you can put like 100
I have
discs.
big binders of CDs.
Because at some point I actually physically took all of them out of the jewel cases and just put them in the binders, and I've got that.
You slid the front cover behind. Yep.
So I've got all those still, and I need to. One of these days I need to make myself in my car like, all right, don't listen to.
When did you go off CD into stream then? Because see, I remember that transition because this was around the time Napster was around. Not to say that I ever partook in gaining some songs from there or something like that.
I think I did LimeWire for a little while.
I did Kazaa.
But I would fill in the library with that. So I would all my CDs were burned in to like a little player like this thing kind of a thing. Yeah.
But that's
then I would go and acquire some other songs.
That's something that's missing though too, because I don't know what they called those services, like the Napster and the LimeWire. Peer-to-peer, yes. Because now, obviously we're stuck with whatever we can get on Spotify or Apple Music. Right. It's all legal stuff.
Yeah.
Which, I get that from that point of view. But the other part of it being, one of my favorite things used to be mashups. I used to love when people would take 2 or 3 songs and find a way to weave them together. And you can find this like videos of this like on TikTok and stuff now and YouTube, whatever. People do videos of this kind of stuff. But you can't get it commercially in any way. But that was something where back in the day on those services, you could download like, hey, here's these 20 awesome mashups where I stuck Oasis, Eminem, and Aerosmith together, and it's this ridiculously cool. And Green Day, it was Boulevard of Broken Dreams is the real song. But it was something where they crafted Wonderwall into it or something. It was amazing, and you can't find that anywhere anymore because it was an illegal thing more or less of sorts. So I miss that kind of stuff too. All right. Lastly, I'll very quickly talk about tech that has not necessarily improved.
Yes,
I think television in the streaming era there's a lot of great stuff about it. I love the amount of content that's out there and the amount of awesome stuff that you can see that you would never have seen on networks or even cable back in the day. But the streaming has also made it very difficult to find shows that everyone can agree on and talk about at the same time.
This is true.
Like I remember
Good point.
I remember back in the days of Lost, when Lost was the zeitgeist show.
Yep.
And I had friends that at work every Friday morning, I think Lost usually, or Thursday, I think Lost aired on Wednesday nights on ABC.
So that shared experience.
Thursday morning, like 3 or 4 people would come back to my office and we'd sit down and we'd talk Lost for an hour and share all of our theories and our ideas. Now, and granted, we're getting back to the point where more streamers are dropping like week-to-week episodes, but still, you have not everyone's watching at the same time or able to watch the same night. When you were forced to, because if you didn't watch it, you missed it. There was something to that, and I think honestly, I think Game of Thrones was the last time that really happened. I feel like that was the last series where everyone
around the water cooler,
enough people were watching it every Sunday night to talk about it. And we've got some shows like that. I was just thinking like The Last of Us. That's like the big zeitgeist show right now. But even that, like I didn't watch the new episode until last night. I didn't even watch it Sunday.
Don't tell me I haven't watched it yet.
I had to stay off the internet. I had to stay off the internet. Like I was even seeing some alerts of news stuff on my phone that were like a little too
risque with
like,
some spoilers.
Right, like didn't share enough, but enough that I was like, I told my wife last night, I'm like, we got to watch this tonight. Like either if you're not watching with me tonight, I'm watching it by myself because it's got to happen because I don't want any more spoilers. So like that stuff's still kind of there. But again, I think it's like
societally, lucky, it's not there.
One show a year might do that, and even then, I still don't think enough people will be watching at any one time for it to work again.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's missing. I'm sad that like
I don't disagree with that.
I'm sad that I have to go to somebody and say like, "Hey, are you caught up on X?" And they're like, "No, I'm like 4 weeks behind." They're like, "All right, well, let me know when you do." They never do, and by that point, you're done with the season, and you're done talking about it. You're like, "Oh yeah, that was cool, wasn't it?"
And then you got people like me who just finished Breaking Bad. How many years later? So I'm like, exactly. I'm coming back to you. You've already forgotten about all this stuff.
Like right now, I watched that I think 5 years ago. I don't remember how it ended though.
There you go. See?
Yeah. And then you can't even talk about because I'm like, I forget how that show is. I got other shows in here now.
As opposed to, back in the day, everybody watched Friends. Everybody watched Seinfeld.
I guess that's the
everybody watched Lost. Everybody
television.
watched.
That's what's missing now. There's not as much
Mm-hmm.
of that, and I think that's a little unfortunate that we don't quite have that. Like maybe so. Here's what some streamer needs to do: is be like, hey, you get to watch this night only, and then we take it off the service until the season's done, and then we'll release the whole thing. Like that would be that. You want to talk about a way to generate some buzz potentially for a show? Be like, hey, it's on this one night. Or maybe a 24-hour window. You have a 24-hour window to watch this show, and then we take the new episode off, and we'll release it again.
And you can't record it.
Yeah, we'll release it again like 6 months later or something. Yeah. All right. We've babbled on a lot about this. I had one last question here in order to try to bring this back to something sort of pseudo-business related for us, which is, do you think nostalgia makes it harder to sell new solutions? When I think about the world of solution selling, do you think VARs or people in this industry encounter people that are nostalgic about technology and maybe that sometimes keeps them from adopting new solutions? Is that a thing, or is it just me?
That's quite the proposition to make there. No. I don't think it's no.
All right.
And I'm basing it on because people want what's next.
That's
right.
true.
So,
that's true.
So if that's always going to be from a selling aspect, that's always going to be, hey, this is the next big thing. Hey, this is the next big thing. So, so I don't think that it has any impact on it. Not only that, but then you have some entities that lean into the nostalgia to increase sales, a la the Nintendo NES Classic.
Yeah, true.
I mean, why do you release that? Well, you release that so you can get a bunch of, older folks like us to say, oh, yeah, I remember back in the day and watch this.
Well, it's like I said up front, I feel like nostalgia has like kind of become a bit of an enemy sometimes, especially in pop culture where we're always constantly just trying to, no one wants something that is new sometimes. People are like, I don't want something that's brand new and different. I want the thing that's familiar, the thing that's comforting, the thing that I remember being as it was. There, I don't know how much either of you ever watched really South Park, and it's been on for a ridiculous long time, but they had a whole season. This has been a while back, actually. A whole season where they leaned into the idea of nostalgia. And the running gag was these talking berries called member berries.
Okay.
And the whole idea behind it is that they were always like, remember when, remember. Because it was all about like people like, being nostalgic for like, they were making fun of the idea. Again, they were making fun of the pop culture idea that like, we're constantly making like, all right, let's drag Star Wars out again and make a new Star Wars movie. Or let's do a new reboot of Ghostbusters. And let's do this and let's do that. Instead of trying anything new, just rehashing the same properties over and over and over and over again ad infinitum because we're nostalgic and we remember, So that's that makes me think of.
Yeah, well.
All right. Sarah, did you have anything to add on the solution?
Not really. No, it's the same thing. I think no, because people, what Dean said, want what's new. But the only thing for me with nostalgia that I kind of miss, I miss a very basic, which this is probably a very unpopular opinion, but I miss a basic user interface and user experience. I don't need 500 different buttons that go here, that do this, that add this field. That's why I've kind of gotten away from social media and Instagram altogether, because you can't just post something. It's like, do you want to add this? Here's this field. So I just don't do it anymore. But like, I just miss when things were so very basic. Like you just add add that here, upload a photo, do this. And things aren't like that anymore.
Do you get choice paralysis? Like
Ooh,
if you have too many options to choose from.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, that's what people have said like about the streaming era again there too. Is like someone goes to Netflix and they're like, well, I've got 6 billion things I can check out on Netflix. Yeah. I'll watch all these trailers and then you end up just watching a rerun of Friends again.
Yeah, that's me with the Golden Girls. When I don't know what to watch, I watch the Golden
Girls. There it is.
That's what I go to.
Sarah, you cracked me all right.
We need to make that the clip right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
We can put the little theme song. Thank you for being.
I don't know. We probably have to license that or something.
That's true.
Yeah.
We get slapped with a cease and desist.
R.I.P. Betty White and everyone else. They're all dead.
I was like, are any of them still alive?
Nope.
I don't think they are. No. That's unfortunate. I'm surprised they haven't tried to reboot that. Like, I know there was
if they do,
a spinoff.
Hallmark.
I will go on strike. I will. Don't you dare do that to the Golden Girls. Don't even try to remake it.
Depend on the cast.
Don't. Huh?
Like would a really good cast make a difference?
No one can be Blanche, Rose, Sophia, and Dorothy.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah. They just can't.
I'm in complete agreement with you, but again, I'm surprised it hasn't been tried yet.
Yeah.
I'm surprised I will get very combative if someone tries that. No, just don't Don't just don't do it.
Stay tuned for Sarah standing outside of a studio somewhere.
Say, she's going to be outside.
I'll go to Universal or wherever, whatever it takes.
It'll be her and a bunch of 60-year-olds standing out in front of a studio.
I'm going to go 80-year-olds.
Yeah, I'll get them. I'll band them all together. We will all go on strike, make signs, whatever it takes. You do not do that to the Golden Girls.
They're flattening tires of executives. They're doing everything.
I'll do it. You'll see my mugshot soon enough then.
Good to know.
Oh, man.
All right. Before we get around to talk about what's on our radar, I want to quickly talk about what's happening around BlueStar Nation. Well, speaking of nostalgia, remember when the internet was obsessed with kids opening up toys?
Yes.
Like you just film your kid opening a box and taking everything out. Well, we do remember that.
Oh, yeah.
So we decided to hop on the trend years and years later with Unboxed, the video series that channels Brad Pitt and Seven. What's in the box?
Nice.
The premise is simple. We grab the latest printers, scanners, POS terminals, mobile computers, displays, and more. We check out what's in the box, and we share features that you need to know. It's pretty simplistic, but you know what? A lot of people like these videos, and they watch a lot of them.
Good stuff.
So check it out. The Unboxed playlist, you can find it on the BlueStar YouTube channel. While you're there, subscribe to our channel.
Yes.
Like some videos. Yes. Leave us some comments on our videos. I do see the comments, by the way. Every week, I'm always in the YouTube stuff, and I always see when people leave comments. 9 times out of 10, it is Savog from our Canadian Epson team.
Sev King.
Sev, we appreciate you. I love that you're leaving so many comments. You're probably going to leave one on this podcast after hearing your name, but get some friends to help out and leave some comments there too. We could use a few extras, and not the ones where the people go to our YouTube shorts and it shows up on someone's random feed and they go, "What is this?
Right?
Why am I seeing this?"
Yes, right.
Give us some feedback. We appreciate it. As always, check out the BlueStar Nation blog. We're doing lots of really good stuff over there. Send your ideas in for what you want to hear about on the show. You can always find us on BlueStar's LinkedIn page, or you can email us directly, nation@bluestarinc.com. All right, let's wrap up with a little what's on your radar. talking about something in the world of tech, innovation, science, news, business.
Yes.
Just something else we just feel like talking about today because that's what we do, sit around and talk about things.
Or otherwise, yes.
Sarah, what's on your radar right now?
Okay, so it's not really on theme with this, but this is what's on my radar. And we've talked a lot about streaming services and phones and tech that we think isn't really, it's not new and improved. So what I am going to try to do next month is a tech detox.
Oh.
So I am canceling all my
offline.
streaming subscriptions except Spotify because I need music. And if this thing only works on a dock, it's not like I can take that everywhere. So I am going to cancel all my subscriptions. And
Yes.
I am also trying, there was a thing I tried to do last month, obviously didn't work, is I want my phone to be used for productivity only, not for, and like taking pictures, doing basic things of a phone, but no social media. So I will delete all that stuff off
That's
of
good for you
there.
anyway.
And also just because it's summer and I need to be outside more and not be so attached to my couch watching TV or anything. So that's what's on my
digital detox.
A digital
Okay.
detox. I've never truly done one, and I guess I'm not truly really doing one because I'm keeping Spotify. But at least like music and audiobooks, they're not things that are keeping my
They're not
eyes
attention.
Right.
to
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah.
They don't
television.
grab your attention.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I wouldn't feel bad about keeping those. Yeah.
see. Okay, so that's what. So May 1st, we're gonna all
May
gone.
1st?
Yep.
We're cutting the cord?
I feel like
Cutting the cord
I feel like we need
for
to
a
bring
month.
you back on May 30th and see what we've got.
And I'll be like, guys, I can't do it anymore.
I don't think you're going to be that way. I don't know.
I think I'll be like, I don't want to be here. I'm leaving. There's too much tech around me.
Wait, you ever become one of those people that like thinks that technology is like broadcasting some kind of signal,
Yes.
scrambling
Yeah.
your brain or something?
I did go down a rabbit hole once about the whole, what's it called? Like ERF, electronic magnetic radio, EMF, something where
Yeah.
it's like these radio, whatever. I mean, there's probably belief to that, but I'm on the other side as well. But I just want to see if I can unplug. That's the biggest thing. It's
I
like,
get it.
and obviously I'm still going to work. It's not like I'm
Well,
saying,
yeah.
all right, there goes
Yeah.
my job for a month, guys. I'll see you in a month.
Well, it's a good thing we just
yeah.
hired an assistant for you, or another marketing specialist to help out. So
Yeah, but we're all of it. I'm gonna say goodbye for the month of May and just
Okay.
see how I feel, and then maybe I'll go the whole summer though. I don't know.
I do think we
All
should
right.
check back in with you.
Yes, I
let's
do.
make a point out of
Good,
you
and
know,
this holds me accountable now that I've publicly stated
That's
it.
right.
I will do
That's
it.
right.
Yeah,
It's on the record.
On the record.
Check back in at the
Okay.
end of May or sometime in June and find out how it went and how you feel, and
Okay.
keep some notes like what worked, what didn't, what did you miss.
will.
Did you like at
The
any
Golden
point where you're like
Girls,
kind of scratching? You're like, hey, y'all got some TikTok around here?
Can I watch something, please? Just one thing. Just need a 1 minute
happening?
video.
Yeah. What's happening in the world?
But
You're
yeah.
just like you're hanging out at people's houses, like lurking and looking.
I'm in windows,
looking
like-
through their windows,
It
watching.
looks like they're
Netflix.
watching the latest episode of The Last of Us, huh?
What's Ellie doing? What'd she say?
Oh, man.
So not really anything innovative news, science news, entertainment, but
Hey.
that is what's on my radar.
There you go.
Okay, but again, I am
Tech
going to point
detox.
out we are in the midst of a new season of The Last of Us. You could not have waited until that was over.
Well,
It's only 7 episodes.
I know. So that's why I haven't watched any of them yet because I'm like, if I just don't watch any,
Seriously,
then
you're going to have to stay off the internet. Well, I guess that's your point.
yeah.
so-
Well, that's my point. Besides,
Okay,
except,
well then, when you plug in, the first thing you do is sign up for Max and binge
Yes.
Last of Us,
yeah,
and then rejoin the internet because I promise you everything's gonna be spoiled if you're not.
yes, okay. Well, then
How many
I've
seasons are there of this?
just two right now.
The second, they just started the second
Yeah.
season.
Got it.
I also want to try to not buy anything from Amazon for a month too. That's going to be part of it. That's going to be hard. I
You
don't
are
know.
going
I don't
detox
really. I don't,
all the way.
That one I may have
Are
to
you
bring
are
back.
you going to live in a cabin?
Yes.
somewhere? And-
off the grid? No.
Do you have a pet?
No,
We're gonna have to-
that's the
oh,
other.
wow.
I'll probably have 8 dogs after this month.
We're gonna have to send carrier
Oops.
pigeons to Sarah every time we want to. Actually, what I can't wait for is every week when we get on one of our weekly calls or whatever. Just watch. I'm gonna be keeping an eye on you. If you see me like carefully looking at the screen, it's gonna be like, I want to see.
And if
if-
my eyes are like,
I want to see if
need
there's a tick or
social
something.
media.
Yeah. Or either that,
It's not
or
like she's giving up
or she's
caffeine.
going to look even
True.
healthier and glowing, and
Yes.
she's going to
Yes.
just look amazing, and we're going to be like, oh, damn it, she's right.
Like, what's the internet? Oh,
Oh, yeah. Well read.
All right, well, good luck with that.
Thanks.
Kudos to you for
Thanks.
trying. I don't think I could do it at this point.
here's my public announcement. So I got to follow through now.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, and also what I want to know is like, is that easier or harder than giving up alcohol? I guess it depends on the person.
I think easier for me, but yeah. So, but I don't know what's this month going to entail. I don't know what's going to happen now.
Yeah,
but
see, if you don't have a lot of tech in your life, then
Yeah.
it'd be a little easier. Yeah,
because I don't think that would be hard for me to like detach.
yeah, and like I'm not a gamer or anything anymore. So like that's already.
Yeah,
I'm not really big on social media anyways.
So yeah, that's
right.
So that, but the only thing is like
the content. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be the deal breaker for me.
Yeah.
All right, Dean, what's on your radar, bud?
I got two of them. Federal government spending.
Yeah,
What a great topic, isn't it?
Boo.
Hot topic, one everybody loves to talk
Well,
about.
so I'm going to drop the link in the notes because I came across this one, and it's a chart, but it's fascinating because it boils it all down into one nice little chart that you can and what's really the commentary is there's all this going on about it, but when you boil it down, there's like 6 things you can talk about, and that's it.
Yeah, most of the money gets put into a few places.
The revenue side is payroll tax, individual income tax, and corporate tax. Okay, there's the 3 things coming in. 4 things going out. It's Social Security, Medicare, and the defense. So it's like, what else are you going to talk about?
That's what cracks me up with this whole Doge thing. Is like,
I like Doge,
you're cutting
but
stuff
it's
that's
so
not going to make
minimal.
that big of an impact.
It needs to happen anyway.
Certainly not the numbers that they predicted that they were going to.
Well, there you go. But if you just dial into this thing, what's cool about it is you hover over a certain thing and then it'll expand out.
Right.
So like you hover over defense and then it'll show you within that box, and so it goes a couple levels deep. But it is just mind-boggling to see where all the money goes and the fact that we don't have enough money. But anyway, so there's that. And then the other story I have. Allergies. It's allergy season.
As I've been like rubbing my nose.
Yes. So, are you an allergy sufferer? You are?
Yeah. I mean, not
Sarah?
like horrible, but
Yeah. Seasonal.
Yeah,
Okay,
comes
so
and goes.
where do you think the worst allergy is? What's the worst city in America?
Greater Cincinnati.
No
Greater
peeking.
Cincinnati, Northern Kentucky area.
Nope.
Oklahoma.
Oh man.
I would think it would be somewhere
Is that
out in the
right?
West or Midwest.
You are so close. So it's Wichita, Kansas is the worst.
Interesting.
Number 2 is New Orleans, according to this. But there are 2 in Oklahoma. Oklahoma City and Tulsa are 3 and 4. Wow. 4. And if you look at the overall general map, yes, it is the Midwest down into the South, like Florida. But if you are anywhere north or west of that, like allergies just don't even exist. So apparently we need to move to like
Allergies are so right here.
they're
right now.
so right here in the Midwest, and I think that's why we complain about it. That's why it was up on my radar. I'm like, yeah, if you look at all the places, it's Arkansas, the Carolinas, Virginia. Yeah. Unfortunately, us in the here in Cincinnati, we actually did not make the list at all. I know we all complain about it. We feel like
is it because we're in the middle of like people, the Carolinas, Oklahoma, we're just kind of smack dab sitting there.
The Ohio River Valley is so weird because it creates such a weird effect on all weather and anything related to that too, anything related to climate.
So Columbus comes in, it's 48 out of, and so it's in the top 50, I guess. Right. But that's the first city in this misery index.
Interesting.
So anyway, you got that. So what's on your radar, John?
All right. So it was interesting lately, speaking of social media and detoxing, which again, I do recommend. And I think you've already, you said you've tuned out of Facebook, right?
Yeah.
Which I did the same. I only rejoined just to do stuff for work. And like I basically have like, I don't know, like my wife, my best friend, and like my mother-in-law. I think are the only people I'm connected to on Facebook. So I and to follow neighborhood stuff. So otherwise I'm not messing with it. And again, for good reason, a new book that came out that Meta desperately tried to stop the publication.
Oh, I'm sure they did.
It's called Careless People. It was written by Sarah Wynne Williams, I believe is her name. She was an executive with global policy at the company for many years, and someone who is probably kind of complicit in some of this stuff, but decided to do a little whistleblowing in her book. And there was some interesting stuff that came out. I was listening to a podcast that was kind of running through some of the details from the book. And some of this is stuff we've kind of heard, but it's interesting to know that someone on the inside is confirming a lot of this and some of the details. Mm-hmm. The big stuff that stood out to me, one is talking about the addictive nature of it and how it's very much ad driven and how advertisers basically control a lot of what's going on there. Apparently, there was an algorithmic piece of it where if teenagers or young 20-somethings, especially women and girls, if they would delete selfies off the app, they would immediately get targeted with ads about beauty products and makeup and clothing.
Really?
How terrible.
taking advantage of someone who's clearly self-conscious about
Yep.
their
Oh my
appearance.
gosh.
This was it'd be like, hey, someone in this age group or whatever deletes a selfie, you could, it's insane that there's an opportunity to build something like that into advertising where
Wow.
you can
Yeah.
push something like
Yeah.
that in your direction.
Yeah.
Apparently they there was a lot of stuff obviously over the years we've heard about Facebook's kind of implications. And again, a lot of this, I'm saying all this up front is alleged. This is all alleged from this whistleblower. Nothing's been 100% confirmed, or nothing's there's no trials over this kind of stuff or whatever yet. But again, onto some of these allegations. One was the some of the participation that Facebook had in some of the genocides that were occurring in Myanmar some years ago with the Rohingya, I believe they're called, and basically how they were very slow to react and very indifferent to the fact that the platform was essentially being used to promote a genocide. And it took a very, very long time before they got proactive about that. And then also, and this might interest you, Dean, as someone who's very anti-China sometimes, that Facebook has been...
the Chinese people. Nothing wrong with that.
that Meta and Facebook have been desperate to get into China.
Oh, for sure.
So much so that they were willing basically to allow China to have complete control over what would and wouldn't be allowed to be shown on the app. Like essentially to have a person in place whose job would be to be able to go in and throttle it as wanted or turn off certain things. It was like, you know what? We don't like that the people are talking about this, so we want that turned off. Just basically just killing free speech in any way whatsoever and handing them the ability just so that they could get into it. Now, it still didn't work. They never got in. And, China has since built a lot of their own social networking apps. But they were apparently writing very hard for and willing to sacrifice a lot of potential privacy and freedoms and, any kind of, freedom of speech to get themselves into the room and just get that advertising dollars, I guess.
That's right. Money distorts everything.
Wow.
So nutty stuff. I do want to read this book at some point. It sounds fascinating and probably a little sad, and and I don't know, giving us good reason to potentially back away from some of these social media platforms.
No doubt. Yeah.
And what they're potentially doing to us and what they're potentially allowing to happen. So again, on the record, all allegations, but it sounds interesting and
Sounds true to
recommend
me.
people check into it and do a little bit of reading. As always, we'll link to all this stuff in our show notes. That is what's on our radar this week.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff.
We've babbled on for a while here, but thank you guys so much for joining us.
Yes,
Thanks for having
Sarah,
me.
thanks. We appreciate having you
Absolutely.
here.
Thank you.
Come up with our next idea of something to talk about. It might be your
Hey,
detox
while
thing.
let me see what's in the
Yeah, you have
memory
plenty
bank.
of time
while
on your
I'm
hands,
not
yeah.
going to be on the internet, so I can maybe think of some topics.
I'll get an email from Sarah that's like 60 pages long. Like, and then we should do this, and then we should do that. and then we should
Day
do this.
37 of
The detox.
the detox.
We'll all finally get to a point where just like we discreetly slip a television like into her cubicle here at work, and
Watch this.
yeah. Make her watch some Golden Girls reruns.
Oh, that's what's going to get me. I'm going to want to watch Golden. That's what's going to hold me back from this whole thing.
That's right.
Exactly. All right, folks. Send us in your nostalgia pieces. We want to hear from you. I'd love to know what makes you nostalgic or what you think used to be better and simply isn't. Hey, thanks so much for joining us here on BlueStar Nation.